Fortnite Season 4 is set to end with a massive heist, but what are we stealing and what are the dire consequences we are yet to face? In the build-up to Fortnite Season 4, a message was sent around to different content creators, and it said, "I'm putting together a team, and our mutual friend said you'd be perfect for this job. Can you share this intel with your group?" Now at first, absolutely everyone on Twitter, YouTube, Discord, everywhere, they thought this was a message from Slone to someone in particular. Maybe it was Midas, and we'll get into his relevance later on, but it turns out our expectations were totally subverted, as this message wasn't sent from anyone that we knew at the time. Instead, it had been messaged out by Nolan Chance. You know that elf-looking Battle Pass character who jumped straight out of a Pixar film? Yeah, well apparently he not only has story relevance, but he's also put together the perfect plan for a heist. The mutual friend he was referring to was Dr. Slone, and it looks like she's got her eyes on something very important, but as the teasers told us, she needs the best team in business to help her steal it. This team includes Nolan Chance, your favorite pizza delivery chick, the corporate lady that everyone's drooling over, which I agree with by the way, Carby Lame for some reason, a fish that is absolutely jacked out of his mind, and Uwu girl? Yeah, I guess Fortnite made Uwu canon. I don't know why, but I'm sure the employee that wrote this had some fun. Although this team might seem like a total joke, as most battle passes do, the job that they're dealing with most definitely does not, and it may actually have some very serious implications for the future of the Fortnite storyline. But the problem is, our team isn't on great terms, and the heist can't begin until we resolve some other issues. Two central members of the heist team, being Nolan Chance and Antonia, have some unresolved conflict outside of the heist that they're putting to the side in order to help out Dr. Slone. Now, as to why they want to help her out, I don't know. Maybe they're just as naive as we were back in Chapter 2, Season 7. Maybe the things she's stealing can also benefit them, or just maybe they hold a massive grudge against Kato Thorne, which is probably the most likely option. But what is it that Slone wants? Well, going back to the cinematic trailer, we can see a time machine that Thorne uses to capture the skull of King Oro. Dr. Slone really wants to steal this time machine, and from leaked snapshot quests, we know that she will be successful at some point in Part 4, but then the question arises as to why she would need this time machine. A common theory going around at the moment is that she wants to go back to the collision event and prevent the Imagined Order from ever being defeated by the Seven. Now, the reason that this just does not make any sense is because Slone has defected from Geno and the Imagined Order, but the upcoming comic series is called Order Restored, so maybe we restore that order by making sure the Imagined Order was never defeated. Now, even then, I'd say that's most likely not the answer, like there has to be some more logical conclusion. And I will reveal that in a bit, so if you're enjoying this video, subscribe to the channel because we're only a little over 400 subscribers away from 10,000. Last season, Slone found herself stranded in an ancient jungle that had been completely abandoned by those who lived there. She said the people of the jungle were extremely intelligent, they knew how to predict the stars, and they were excellent with their use of the kinetic ore. What if Slone went back in time to a point where this jungle hadn't been abandoned? Maybe she could communicate with the people of its time to find out more about the eclipse and more about reality in general. Maybe when we meet these ancients, we realize they are an early version of the last reality as hinted through the glyphs and the murals, and maybe this ancient civilization play as our main enemy in the next Fortnite chapter. I'm not going to talk about Chapter 5 too much because that's in my next video, but something I will mention is that it almost has to take place in the past or maybe the future. Some people have said that Kato Thorne's time machine cannot go forward in time, but that's just not true. As a good friend of mine, Clark Clint, pointed out, in order for Kato to return to the present after stealing Oro's skull, he needs to be able to go forward in time. I'd say the reason he collects artifacts that are only from the past is probably because he has analyzed those moments before and he knows how to get what he wants, as well as where those items will be. Going into the future for something in particular is a very risky move. You don't know what the situation will look like, and you don't know if you will find what you're looking for. That being said, Kato Thorne could have totally gone into the future sometime, but he hasn't stolen anything from it, so it's safe to assume that we're headed back in time. Then the question arises as to where exactly we would go. I can already see the Twitter posts about, oh, maybe we go back to the OG Chapter 1 days, but maybe we go even further than that. What if the time machine takes us way back to the beginning of time where there was only nothing? This would make sense with what Optimus Prime said about about the starless void, and if we traveled into the past to confront the Nothing's origins, we may be able to prevent the creation of the last reality as a whole. That's just a small theory on what could happen. I don't think it will, but it would be awesome. Now that that's covered, we've just got one more thing to talk about. Who was Slone referring to when she said this?
You're the last one I want to call in on this. You know me too well, for one. You'll be infuriating. But you're the only one I trust to handle this.
To me, and the common sense of most other people on the planet, the type of person she describes almost has to be Joan. But now that we know this whole job that needs handling is actually a heist, I'm leaning more towards the side of Midas. And before you type an angry comment like, "Oh, Jones has to return to the story, I love him, he's such a good character," I agree with you. Just let me explain. The first line that Slone says in reference to this mysterious character is that they are the last ones she wants to call in on this job. She knows them too well, for one. This makes a whole lot of sense with Midas because they have not worked together in a very long time. Slone would 100% be reluctant to ask for his help because their last interaction was probably when he tried to destroy the entire loop. There's also photos inside of Slone's office that show Midas and Slone in the workplace when they were very young. This aligns perfectly with how Slone says Midas knows her too well because they worked together when they were younger, and the connections only get more convincing as we go on. The final thing she says is that this person is the only one she trusts to handle this situation. Now look man, I love Jones as much as the next guy, but do you really think he's the perfect and only one that could pull off a massive heist of a reality-shifting time machine? I mean, realistically no. He couldn't stop himself from eating his best friend in a bunker. He couldn't save the 0 point without calling up the Rock. He couldn't even disguise himself well enough to hide from the IO. He had to use a cow suit. And all of that led him straight to Slone's prison, which proves to her that he's not the best option. If you enjoyed this video, a like is always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel for the 10K face reveal, and I'll see you when we heist the time machine.